Hello, and welcome to Book Reviews Kill, a podcast about fantasy, sci fi, and horror novels. I'm Chad.
And I'm Evan.
And you are listening to our recap of The Arm of the Sphinx, Book 2 in the Books of Babel Quartet by Josiah Bancroft.
Okay, so we've read quite a few books and quite a few series already on this podcast.
And they've all been delightful.
They've all been great. They've all been amazing. What do we have here?
I think my favorite book series of all time, perhaps.
Oh my god, this is really, really good.
This is incredible.
You know what? That first book is like pretty good.
Pretty good.
This is taking it up so many notches. As many notches as there are ringdoms in the Tower of Babel.
Ooh, well said.
Wow.
Well said. Yeah, like the first book ascended to the extremely excellent tier along with Senlin. And this second book has reached out its sphinxy little arm, seized my heart and imagination, and I find myself a helpless observer along for the ride, unwilling as I am unable to prevent myself from consuming the rest. It is so good.
I was like mad at the end of this book.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm never going to be this good of a writer ever. It's just, I could put so many, this man is so talented.
I'm delighted and yet sad every page I turn, because it's like one page I'm never going to be able to read for the first time again. And that is the mark of a really good book.
And I mean, this sounds like incredibly high praise, but it feels very deserved. There's so many points in this book where I like rolled my eyes. I was just like, I can't, like, yep, there's another beautiful, amazing line. It's just so well crafted. And as the book keeps going on, things just start falling in place. You're like, did you really think of that in the first? How did you put all this together? I just can't believe it. It's just, there's nothing in these books that can be taken out.
No.
It's airtight. And they're long. This was a long book. And the next two are even longer.
Yeah. Then it's not just good writing. It's a great story, and it's like philosophically sound and deep.
Yeah,
and it has some parts in it that
everything.
It does. I stop a few times. I'm like, man, what a deep sentence. And he'll do these little observances. We'll get to some quotes later, but he'll do these little observances that are just one sentence of utter awesomeness.
Brilliance. It's like this steampunk fever dream that there's so many folds and so much intrigue and so many like personal stories happening. The secondary characters in this book are blossoming to like main character status whenever they're on the page. Everything feels so well realized in such an amazingly unique way. This is easily one of the most unique things that I've ever read.
And typically I like books for their uniqueness, but it's hard to make like a top book, like a really, really good that's just different than anything else that I've read. But Josiah did it.
It's so funny because like I just made this video on TikTok where I talked about Berserk, and I'm in love with it, and I went hard and just told everybody it was like one of the best things I've ever read.
Did you put a content warning in there?
Yeah, I had to, but I was just heaping praise onto it. And now I think that if someone watched that video and then they came and watched this episode quickly after, it's like, does this guy just love everything? No, I'm just in a hot streak right now where I'm reading Berserk, and I just so happen to be reading the Books of Babel.
And it has a personality. Like, the book is funny.
Yeah.
But not in a slapstick way that takes away from it. Some authors are like, okay, I can't really take your book seriously because it's so funny. This isn't that. Like, I've laughed and cried.
Yeah. And the ending. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
That kicked my ass.
It kicked my ass too.
Yeah. I was not ready for that.
Oh my gosh. It changed so often. I remember we were talking like somewhere, I was a couple hundred pages ahead of you, and you were like, how's the book doing? And I hadn't reached the ending like sequence yet. And I was like, man, it just continues to get so good. And then like the next day I was like, I wish I could have that conversation again because it's so good now.
I know. I was kind of like behind most. I actually read like 200 pages of it today.
Dude, nice.
Yeah, I crushed it out. But yeah, instead of just sitting here and heaping praise on this for an hour and a half, which we probably could do, but it'd get a little boring. Let's just go straight into the recap and start picking at the stuff that we really enjoyed, the stuff that we're thinking about, the things that maybe we didn't quite understand, and we'll start pulling everything apart.
And all the terrible stuff. Wait, there was none of that.
Yeah, I really honestly have no criticisms at all about this.
Me
And
neither.
maybe you'll exit out of the podcast immediately when you hear me say that, because maybe that's not as interesting. But if I had it, we'd talk about it. But I just don't really. I mean, I've got questions, I've got predictions, but honestly, this is incredible. This is really, really good.
Yeah, this is a masterful piece of art.
Here we go again.
Yeah. Is this Josiah Bancroft's debut?
I'm pretty, to the best of my knowledge. Yeah,
Holy shit.
I know. All right, let's do it. Let's just.
All right, let's do it, baby.
The book begins aboard the Stone Cloud, captained by Senlin and crewed by Adam, Voletta, Aaron, and Edith as his first mate. Lacking funds and piloting a ship in constant need of repairs, the group has resorted to pirating the airships languishing around the tower. Exposed to high levels of the drug White Crumb, Senlin is seeing hallucinations of Maria, who he feels is acting as his conscience. The crew is unaware of his affliction as they dock in the windsock to visit a man named Artuna. Senlin asks Artuna to provide him with introduction papers to enter Pelphia. Artuna refuses, but refers Senlin to his mother. Back on the Stone Cloud, Edith pilfers the ship log, which Senlin has been using as his personal journal. The journal reveals Senlin's hallucinatory episodes. Senlin visits Artuna's mother, who informs him that Pelphia can be infiltrated from the Silk Gardens, a ringdom directly above. Passage below may be bought with books, which Senlin must deliver to a man named Luke Mara, who runs a hostel for Hods in the ringdom. Back on the Stone Cloud, Edith confronts Senlin about his hallucinations. Neither of them are sure why the crumb is still affecting him. Edith agrees not to tell the rest of the crew. Back in the air, the crew raid a tourist ship and steal books before the Cloud is attacked by the Ararat, the Commissioner's flagship. Though they are far outmatched, the crew manages an escape, though the ship receives heavy damage. The crew dock the Cloud on the shore of the Silk Gardens, finding the ringdom in ruins. Broken airships litter the beach below, and Adam claims he can salvage parts of the broken ships, while Senlin and Edith disembark to navigate the spider-infested forest. Senlin leaves Adam in charge, with Aaron and Voletta to assist him with the ship repairs. He advises them to leave without him and Edith if the ship is attacked or if they don't return by breakfast. While traversing the forest, Edith reveals that the batteries for her clockwork arm are running out. A stampede of spiders force the two into a deep pool of water nearby. The spiders pass over the pool, followed by the spider eaters, and the two pass out after resurfacing. Voletta sneaks off the ship and follows Senlin and Edith. Adam and Aaron loot the beached airships, hoping for food but finding only supplies. In a hidden compartment in one ship, Adam finds a logbook with a bar of pure gold in it. The writer says he found the gold in the collar of heaven, but was ultimately chased away. Senlin and Edith wake to find a Hod standing over them. The Hod, though speaking a different language, manages to lead them to the Golden Zoo, where Luke Mara resides. Volita follows. Inside the Golden Zoo, Senlin observes scores of Hods working in books and doing chores. He and Edith meet a wheelchair-bound Mara, who listens to Senlin's story and then tells his. He rescued the Hods from the Black Trail, the tunnels the designers put in the walls of the tower for Hods' use to transport goods. Mara suggests the crew can use these tunnels to access Pelphia, but they'll have to pose as Hods to do so. Voletta, observing the zoo, sees a group of Hods kill one of their brethren and bury him in a shallow grave. She shaves her head and poses as a Hod to blend in. A spider eater attacks Adam and Aaron, but they survive and begin repairs on the ship with a blossoming and unsure camaraderie. The repairs underway and nearly finished, they wait for the others, hopeful yet worried. Senlin and Edith are put in a cage with the door cracked open. They notice the books the Hods have been working on are all methodically blacked out. Senlin also spots 5 pictures exactly like Ogier's of the girl on the beach. He hallucinates Maria once more and passes out. He wakes to find Voletta in the cell, bald and explaining her plans of escape. She's rigged an explosion in the zoo and has brought a rope to descend while the chaos from the explosion mounts. After a battle with the pursuing Hods, the crew escapes the Silk Gardens, bound for the Sphinx's ringdom as a last resort. In his cabin that night, Senlin and Edith discuss Edith's past dealings with the Sphinx. She explains that she signed her name away in exchange for care when she lost her arm. She's now a wakeman, a tower guard at the Sphinx's disposal. He can call on her services at any time, but hasn't done so yet. The Red Hand is revealed to be one of these wakemen as well. Senlin believes he can use Ogier's painting as leverage to force the Sphinx to repair their ship and fix Edith's arm. In addition to the painting, Senlin feels his knowledge of Mara's Hod revolution would also be valuable to the Sphinx. The Sphinx resides at the tower's peak, just under the collar of heaven. Weary of fortifications dotting the lower levels, Senlin instructs the crew to post dead on the ship to keep them from being attacked. Level with the entrance to the Sphinx's domain, Senlin holds Edith's arm high as a signal, and the doors open to admit the stone cloud. Despite plans for Edith to go on alone, the entire crew is dumped from the cloud. Byron, a stag/man hybrid who Edith knows, introduces himself and takes the crew to the Sphinx. They pass through rooms representative of each level of the tower and meet a man fitting Edith's earlier description, the Sphinx, who indeed looks like a spoon. The Sphinx inspects Edith's arm, asking what she's done to it. He tells Ferdinand, his animatronic guard, to attack Senlin if he says anything, and mentions he has an eye that would work well to replace Adam's lost one. Senlin begins bargaining, but is interrupted by the Sphinx, who tells him he knows where Maria is. The Sphinx says he can fix their ship and have Senlin to her tomorrow if only he'll let his crew stay behind. Senlin rejects the offer. The Sphinx asks about Ogier's painting, which he calls the bricklayer's granddaughter, and instructs Senlin to check the bottom corner for a series number. It's number 3 of 64, each with subtle variations on the original. Senlin informs the Sphinx that Mara has 5, and asks about the bricklayer. The Sphinx says he's trying to carry on his work. After this conversation, Senlin begins bargaining again. The two men eventually form a contract. In exchange for information on the Hod Revolution, Senlin wants the stone cloud repaired, a letter of introduction to Pelphia, information about Maria's whereabouts, and Edith's arm fixed and returned to her. Before agreeing to these terms, the Sphinx demands Senlin be sober when he signs the contract, revealing that the painting of Senlin's wife is covered in white crumb. The Sphinx instructs Senlin to find a specific book in his bottomless library. Days pass, and while Senlin searches the library, Edith encourages Adam to escape, afraid the Sphinx will convince him to receive a new eye. Adam agrees to go, and the two escape to the top of the tower. Adam finds streaks of gold embedded in the flat rock at the tower's peak, but he and Edith are accosted by a group of soldiers in rubber suits armed with electric wands. They recognize Adam, but not Edith. They ask Adam to come with them, and Adam agrees on the condition that they let Edith go. Adam leaves Edith with parting words for his sister. "Tell the little owl not to forget my birthday." Chasing her squirrel through the air ducts, Valletta falls into the Sphinx music room, where he is retired for the evening. The two become fast friends and begin to secretly spend their evenings together. The Sphinx reveals that she's an old woman. She shows Valletta a jar of the substance that she uses in the machines, a liquid able to hold an electric charge. After a few nights of these meetings, Aaron confronts Valletta, who admits to the nightly excursions, but leaves out her meetings with the Sphinx. Edith returns and informs Aaron and Valletta of Adam's departure. Upon hearing his parting words to her, Valletta recognizes the code as one they used when they first entered the tower. It means to check the Owl Gate on August 23rd, his birthday. Byron shows Edith that they have the Red Hand, alive and recovering from his fall. The Sphinx informs Edith that she wants her to dispel the myths, remind the ringdoms of her power and their responsibilities, and confront the threat of the Hods. The Sphinx would allow Edith to kill other Wakemen in the process if necessary. Edith agrees. They form a new contract, and Edith gets a new mechanical arm. Senlin keeps a journal while wandering the library and withdrawing from Crumb. He finds himself thinking less often of Maria and more often of Edith, mostly of her strength and resilience. After many days of fruitless searching, he feels he's losing his mind. On the 10th day, he tries to escape. A pile of books falls on him, and he finds himself sliding down a metal chute. The Sphinx is there when he lands. After Senlin produces the book he'd been sent to find, the Sphinx shows Senlin a life-size zoetrope that the bricklayer designed for the 64 paintings of the girl at the beach. Senlin gives his print number 3 when the Sphinx requests it. She installs it in the proper place on the device. She's collected 36 of the paintings, and the device brings the paintings to life using motion and mirrors as it spins. Senlin sees a number in the incomplete animation, and the Sphinx informs him that it is part of a combination to gain access to the heavens. The Sphinx shows Senlin a vault door with a plaque labeling it the Bridge of Babel. She explains that instead of a tower, this structure is a bridge to the heavens, the rest of the universe, or at least the beginnings of a bridge. Inside the vault is a plan to restart the work. The bricklayer planned this all and distributed the paintings throughout the ringdom so each level would hold a piece of it and would have to cooperate to achieve this vision. The Sphinx doesn't trust the others in power, and has resolved to put it together on her own. Boletta and Aaron nurse Edith back to health after her new arm is attached. The Sphinx visits Aaron, who asks her to help with pains she's been having. The Sphinx reveals that Aaron is just going through menopause. The crew, lacking Adam, reunite. That night, Senlin visits Edith and they kiss. They don't notice the butterfly on the wall watching them. The next day, the Sphinx brings the crew together and present them with a substitute ship. Theirs won't be ready for some time, so she's loaning one of hers. She wants Edith to captain it instead of Senlin. Senlin happily gives up his leadership position, and the crew pledges their loyalty to their new captain. When the Sphinx is alone, she reviews the videos her butterflies have recorded. She sees Edith and Senlin kiss. Byron witnesses this recording. The Sphinx tells Byron to accompany the crew, as she's afraid Edith might not be as focused as she should be. When Byron is gone, the Sphinx watches footage from another butterfly. This footage is of Maria with a baby girl and a mysterious man. The man tells her the doctor told her to stay in bed. Maria says she just wanted to see the baby and make sure she's all right. She asks if he won't blame her, and the man promises he won't before asking Maria to come back to bed.
Whoa. Wow, there's so much there.
Okay. So it wasn't enough, Josiah, Mr. Bancroft, if you will. It wasn't enough that you had Edith and Senlin kiss. They hooked up. Did you see that coming?
I did. However, I was very surprised it happened so early, but I really liked it because so often, you wait till like the very end of the book and it ends with this kiss, and it's like, I don't know, I kind of liked the progress that it's happened already, and I'm like, cool, we got that behind us, and it also kind of introduces a whole new problem.
Wait, this is what?
Yeah,
what?
like his whole motivation is trying to get his wife back.
Yeah, this is going to be quite the conflict, as the literary professors like to say.
But the solution is already kind of hinted at a little bit because she's obviously had a kid with another person.
So we're jumping from the beginning all the way to the very end.
Very true.
You know what? This is the juicy stuff. Everyone's read this. Okay, so let's just, hey everybody, we're getting to the juicy stuff. We'll work our way back. We'll work our way back forward. Yeah. I want to talk about Maria having a baby. Okay,
me too.
Because, all right, do you think it's Senlin's baby or do you think it's this guy's baby? Because I didn't really realize. I mean, I had like a working kind of knowledge of how much time had been passing, but not really specifically. 10 months has gone by since the beginning of Senlin Ascends. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I think a baby takes 9 months. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if the math is correct here. I don't think it's Senlin's kid.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. But I mean, unless they smashed like right before they left. Which makes sense. They're on their honeymoon.
They're on their honeymoon.
They're
so
on their
they
honeymoon.
Should be smashing.
And so, like, the kid is probably a month old. It said it was like it had like the wrinkled newborn face.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, but that would also mean, I Okay, so this would also mean that Maria hooked up with someone like what, a month
Like real
into,
quick.
really fast. But
Yeah.
but
Under duress.
I also don't really blame Maria because a month is a pretty good amount of time to realize that this tower is just a total disaster, right?
Right.
Like she
And
doesn't
like
know if
this is like
Senlin
your
is
new
dead.
life now.
Yeah, Senlin's had clues. Maria doesn't know anything, right?
Mm-mm.
So I mean, like at first you're like, man, that was really fast, Maria, but also I don't know, she's doing pretty well for herself. I
Right.
don't know.
I don't know either. And I also think there's a slight chance, maybe this is way out of left field, but there's a slight chance that it's Ogier's baby.
I don't think the math works out for that. Maybe it
Really?
does. No, I guess it kind of
Pretty
would.
close.
Like the way that Ogier and Senlin kind of parted ways, just I didn't get that vibe even a little bit.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I was just trying to think of things that are unlikely because this book is so full of them, but you're probably right. It's probably not.
I don't think it's Senlin's kid.
I don't think so either.
It's enough. It's a big enough problem. Just, I mean, it's not a problem that Maria has a kid. It's just like for the story, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
it just throws another complexity in there.
Hmm.
You know?
But like I was saying earlier, it might present the or might be the vehicle for the ultimate solution if Senlin ends up being with Edith forever. Then she's already got a baby, so maybe she's like, I've fallen in love with this other guy. But I don't know. She didn't seem super stoked about him, and she was like trying to protect her baby. Like, don't blame her. Like, blame her for what? What can babies do?
It seemed like fairly amicable. Like I don't know. They're like
Yeah, I don't know. He was giving
it's
me a
hard to
little bit of
say.
a
It's hard to say. It's like half a page.
right. And like, who blames babies for things?
I think she was asking the guy not to blame Maria, like
Oh,
Oh, like what would you blame the baby for?
I don't know. That's what I was wondering. She's like, don't blame her. And I was like,
Did she say don't?
I think she says, don't blame her.
Oh, yeah, let's look it up. Let's consult the book.
Okay.
Let's consult. I know exactly where it is. It's the
Oh, do
very
you?
last
Nice.
page. Oh, yep. She does say you won't blame her. I'm sorry that I made fun of you for thinking that he was blaming the baby.
Oh, no.
Baby for
It wouldn't be the first time that I was wildly incorrect about something. But yeah, you won't blame her. You promise you won't? And like, what?
maybe she's referring to the nurse. No, there's no way. I'm digging way too. Like, what did the nurse do?
Yeah. And oh, also, while we're here, what a beautifully poetic last youth from the Sphinx. That has so much meaning to it because he just gets done saying that like 2 pages earlier, like a page earlier about Senlin and Edith kissing.
Okay, so we find out that the Sphinx is actually this old woman, right?
Hmm.
Do you ever watch Futurama?
I have, but not very much.
I immediately thought of Mom from Futurama. I don't know if you've
Who's
seen
mom? I
that.
don't know. I don't know. No mom.
Like she makes like the robot oil. I don't know. You'd have to watch this. I'm sure someone listening to the episode knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Let's
Well,
move on.
what about her? Is it because she looks like it, or
Just like no, I mean it's hard to explain if you haven't seen the show. We're moving on.
okay? What do you think the Sphinx looks like?
I think it's like a mask. It's like a big bulbous like metal mask that's like kind of
Okay.
concave. Because it refers a lot to the way that Senlin sees himself like in the reflection.
Yeah,
It's like upside
which
down.
was a cool touch, that he remembered that things get flipped upside down in reflections like that.
I was wondering about that. Like, was Josiah Bancroft just like a spoon
Yeah,
and then just went with it?
I don't know.
I don't know what that was all about. Yeah, that's really because it could have like the Sphinx could have looked like anything. And why wasn't it? Why didn't it look like a Sphinx? Why is it called
Yeah,
the
that's a
Sphinx?
really good. I didn't even think about that. Why is it called the Sphinx?
There's a lot before they really get there where the narrator, if you will, kind of talks about what people thought the Sphinx was. It was like this almost like mythological
Mhm.
being. Maybe there was a Sphinx before her.
Like there
You know
is
what I mean? And
probably
like
one
maybe
in the real world Sphinx. Like it might be built on top of an older construction.
right, like maybe there were multiple Sphinxes. I don't know.
Right. It does reference how old she is multiple times, though.
Which is pretty old. Do you think that the Sphinx is the woman in the painting?
Oh, yes.
Like, do you think that she's the bricklayer's
Yes.
granddaughter? Like, that would make a lot of sense.
Totally. This is the first time I'm having that thought, but absolutely, yes, it is.
I mean, we've been fooled before with just these two books, but I feel like that would
That makes sense.
because she's trying to carry on the bricklayer's work.
Right, like his legacy is what she's.
Right, and she feels like she's the only one that can really do it, which I mean, kind of, she seems to be the farthest along.
Yeah, and she's such an interesting character because she's obviously brilliant. She obviously has resources beyond, but she's very careful about who she's given access to her resources because she's like, man, what would they do if I gave them my Colossus? you know?
It's kind of interesting. Like this, the whole end sequence of the book kind of felt like Lothlorien in Fellowship of the Ring, almost, where they all
Yeah.
kind of like go chill somewhere and then get re-outfitted for the rest of their adventure. And obviously the elves aren't very sinister, but the Sphinx has her own ends that she's trying to reach, obviously. But it was just this weird mix of kind of everybody being pretty relaxed most of the time,
Uh-huh.
it seemed, with the exception of Senlin, who was losing his mind in an infinite library.
Right.
I loved that. So
Me
that was
too.
weird. That his whole journal entry thing was really
And
weird.
so cool to shift perspectives now we're reading from the first person. What a cool way to explain his necessary growth and rehab, I guess, from Crumb.
I mean, he's going through withdrawals. Really, apparently, really harsh withdrawals in an environment that would probably make anybody go crazy, just sober, or not going through withdrawals, I should say. But I just really loved it when he was like, he spends a little bit of time there thinking about Edith.
Yeah.
He's just like, you know what? I'm just going to say it. Edith is pretty.
I straight up laughed when I read that. Edith
Yeah.
is pretty. He's like been
You
hiding
know
his
what?
crush on her from himself the entire time.
Right. I know. It reminded me of like a kid just being like, you know what? I really like her.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, because I had been meaning to ask you. I thought of the question when I was like, I don't know, like 2/3 of the way through the book. I was like, oh, I'm gonna ask Chad if he thinks that they're gonna hook up because they're obviously not going to in this book, and then they did.
Right. And they're kind of stoked about it. We've yet to have a I'm feeling guilty from Senlin or Edith.
What do you think about the two of them, like together?
I like them a lot, and obviously struggling through something, like hard times and overcoming like stressful circumstances and things like those sort of situations can bond two people very quickly. But I think they're a really good match. They just like complement each other. One is like a natural leader, which is Edith, obviously. Then Senlin is a really good, he's more of a academic follower, but he was forced into the leadership role earlier because he kind of needed to evolve that side of him and be a little bit more. I mean, he needed to be more confident. That's what it was, and learn that he was capable. And that was the him being leader of the ship was kind of the vehicle that made that happen. But I think he'll be a better first mate.
Yeah, I think you will too. I mean, he was a pretty terrible pirate.
Yeah,
They were all pretty terrible pirates.
they were all such bad pirates.
Yeah, like Senlin isn't the best captain. They're kind of dragging along and barely scraping by. It's such a terrific way to start the book because they're running out of options immediately. There's so much desperation there, and it really makes you want to keep reading. Like, I have to find out what they're going to do to get out of this situation. And as soon as it looks like they might, they have to go do something even more dangerous.
Right.
And it just keeps spiraling and spiraling. What was your favorite part of the book?
I have to say the ending sequence, probably the
Just all
last
of
like
that.
30
Yeah.
pages. Yeah, it was such a unique ending. Like typically, we have like the big fight or confrontation with the big baddie or something like
Right.
that. This we had a resupply. Like it was just such a weird ending.
It was like if you stopped Fellowship like right when they left Lothlorien.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, what? But it worked because it was also so interesting and so marinated in that magical journey juice. The library sequence, I have to say, might be my favorite part. It was clever, it was really deep, and like made me think a bunch. The cat being in there was the perfect companion for him. I got a little emotional a few times.
It was like he was on a spirit quest.
Well said. Yes, he was on a spirit quest, and that's kind of what needed to happen because he's obviously becoming a new person. He's changing, and he needed a spirit quest, a little mushroom trip out in the desert or something to not only realize that, but kind of take control of it, to acknowledge, hey, I'm growing as a person, I'm becoming a different person, and through this process, I've learned that I'm actually powerful. I have power and can assert myself in this world. And now I need to do that on my own changing process so I can be deliberate and intentional about the person that I become. So I don't lose parts of myself that are valuable, like morality or,
Yeah, like a really good example of that is when the Sphinx offers him, he says, or she says, I should say, well, like I can outfit you right now and I'll take you exactly where Maria is. You just have to leave your crew here and let me do whatever I want with them,
right.
basically. And Senlin, I mean, Bancroft kind of fakes us out,
Yeah.
but I mean, Senlin is essentially like, what kind of person would I be when I finally reunite with her if I do that? I wouldn't even be the same guy. That same sentiment is kind of carried across in the first book too. But now it's even more interesting because it's like, well, no, you're not going to be the same guy because you're really kind of crushing on this other person.
Right,
So,
right. And they're which for good reason, like him and his student that he marries, like there's a huge gap in their age. And it sounds like they're very
yeah.
different type of people. Like she seems like she'd be besties with Velita.
I don't know. I mean, like I think that Edith just compliments him in the sense that I feel like they kind of balance each other out.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mario was good for him too. Like to have this kind of, I guess, for lack of a better word, like love triangle. It's not really a love triangle, but it's just
Almost.
like you don't have to have someone be really incompatible with somebody else for them to be attracted to someone else.
Right.
You can have them be attracted and compatible with two different people almost equally for different reasons, and that's
Mm-hmm.
way more interesting. And that's what this situation
Good
is. Like I
call. Yeah,
honestly
yeah,
do
that's a good
think
notice.
that like I think that Bancroft was really clever in building up what Maria and Senlin had. There's a lot of backstory there. They seem to actually be pretty good for each other for the
Yeah, they're
most
kind of
part.
besties.
Yeah, and there's attraction there. There's
Mm-hmm.
real attraction there. It's like
Which
I'm
Edith
so glad
needed.
that I'm so glad that he didn't just like pull down Maria's character to build up Senlin's attraction to this other person. That would
Right.
have been boring.
That would have been boring and lame. And Edith really needed that because she's kind of having like self-conscious problems, especially now that her fake robot arm is even larger. The first thing she's like, I couldn't even like wear a dress or dress myself without help. I had to rip off a sleeve, and she really needed Senlin to be like, I'm digging that arm, or I'm digging
I
you
know. What did
with
she
the arm.
say? What did she say? Like, I feel like I've got a rain gutter attached to me, or something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that. Okay, I have a question for you. While we're on the note of romance, I kept thinking,
Ooh.
ooh, Adam and Aaron, and then
Well,
Aaron
yeah,
and
well,
Valita.
no,
I'm so
no, yeah. I mean,
confused.
like Aaron is like in her 50s, and
Right.
Adam's like in his early
That was
20s. I
another
mean, not
question.
that
Was how
that,
old is Adam?
not that that's verboten or anything, but it
Was
is.
what's that word used?
Oh, it's German for forbidden.
Oh, verboten.
Yeah, I don't know
Nice.
why I did that,
Huh.
but not that that's wrong or anything. But it's just I think that Adam and Aaron have like kind of a almost like a mother son kind of thing, and that's like Aaron and Voletta have, or Volita or whatever, they have kind of the mother daughter thing kind of
Okay. Well,
going.
it switched from like sisterly to like she's still holding my hand. I was like, what?
I know, and then like she's like, "Are you calling me pretty?" or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I see I see what you're getting at. I mean, maybe, who knows? I don't know.
I just kept thinking it was like a little romantic foreshadowing, but then it's like,
Two consenting adults, like if he's 20 and she's 55, like who am I to say?
yeah.
Love is love, but I don't know if that's gonna go down. I mean, I don't even know what's going on with Adam. I have speaking of Adam,
Oh, yeah.
like what the hell happened up on the top of that
What
tower?
the hell?
Who were those people?
I
Why did
don't
they know
know.
Adam? What
Why do
what
they have such crazy technology? Why is their floor made of gold?
We're not doing time travel, are we?
I don't think so.
Here's what I think. I think they're called the Spring Men or something like that.
The Lightning Men,
Um,
maybe?
they're on top. The people that are in the rubber suits on top of the tower. I think that they're somehow in some sort of communication or in service to the Sphinx in
Okay.
some capacity, and the Sphinx has they've seen like some sort of record of Adam's abilities. Maybe, I don't know.
Which would be what? Just like engineering, mechanically
I
inclined?
mean, he seems like pretty good at it, but I don't know
Yeah.
why that would make them. I mean, maybe the Sphinx is like the Sphinx kind of seemed to take, if not like a full liking to Adam, like did not seem to have any outright hostility towards him. Maybe the Sphinx wants to work with Adam in some way.
Okay, so Edith asks them on top of the tower. He's like, "How do you know my name? Is this some sort of trick?" And then he's like, "A trick?" The officer scoffed. And then Edith says, "Do you recognize me?" And the blonde officer surveyed her face briefly. "No, perhaps you're part of the later story."
Yeah, that's why I was like, is there some kind of weird time travel thing going on here?
Yeah.
And if there is, Josiah, please drip feed it to us. Please be gentle.
Yes. Yeah, because part of a later story, and they know what his mother made him on his birthday when he
That
was
was so
12.
weird. All of that was weird.
Man,
That was like, have they been watching him the entire time? Have they been bouncing around? And I don't know. I don't know. But that's like something that it'd be fun for us to sit on that subject for a little bit on this podcast. But like honestly, I just don't think we're gonna get very
no,
far. It's just something
we
that's
don't
gonna
have
come
enough
up and
pieces.
right.
Why did Edith not ask the Sphinx about that?
I don't know. Something tells me maybe it happened off the page.
Because I know they had to lie to the Sphinx to say that he just left during the night, but I don't know.
I think we'll find out in the next book. Adam's not going anywhere. I mean, he is
No.
going places, but we're going to find out more about
Yeah.
Adam. I think that was like the biggest, probably the biggest, one of the biggest mysteries.
Mm-hmm. I have to give Josiah Bancroft so many plots. Man, if this episode was a piece of candy, it'd be called the Gushers because it'd be Gushers because that's all I'm going to do here. But I have to applaud him because this book is so full of my favorite magical journey juice as they go from tower to ringdom, and it changes drastically. But then right at the end there, we get tons of things answered. I mean, we basically get introduced to the person who knows it all, which needs to happen, but like it also removes a little bit of that pull in the book. But right as that's happening, he introduces two things. One, the sparking men, and then two, the door that the Sphinx doesn't even know it's behind. So boom, magical journey juice back.
Reactivated.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was really cool because it gave the story direction, like more direction. And I think I might have mentioned this in the podcast before this, but I don't think that the whole story could have been Senlin finding his wife. It gave the story the real direction it needed to go, and it turned it into high fantasy, like epic fantasy.
Yeah.
I mean, this feels epic now. It feels like, and I don't remember the exact line, but I think that it sounds like the tower is really important for the world.
Right. The line where the Sphinx is like, "This is the world would lose, like if the tower, if Mata brings the tower down, the world would lose its."
Access to heaven or something
Yeah,
like that.
something like that.
Yeah. That's all really, I don't know what the hell that is. Like, I
Yeah.
really don't. I mean, when we talk it all out, it sounds really complicated, right? Like, okay, there's 64 paintings and they're all a little bit different than each other and they're all kind of scattered around these 64 ringdoms and some of them have more than others. And like, and then if you get them all together and put them in this animatronic thing and then and you get it to spin with all these mirrors, it'll uncover a combination, and then that combination like unlocks this door. But it all works. It all totally works. I'm totally on board with this. I understand everything that's going on.
Wasn't too bloated.
No, it doesn't feel bloated at all. I
No.
mean, if anything, I feel like I'm being very much like drug along here, not knowing enough. Like I want to know more. I want to know more about everything. I want to know more about the bricklayer. Is that
Yeah,
what
the
his name is?
bricklayer, uh-huh.
Yeah, the bricklayer. I mean, I feel like we didn't see enough of Mara. I mean, we'll probably see a lot of him in the next book, but from where I'm sitting, he's the Hod King,
Me too.
right? I mean, like he's got to be,
Oh yeah, I have it written down. I think he is the Hod King.
right? I mean, unless Senlin becomes the Hod King or something, or
Oh.
there's a different person who's in charge of a Hod revolution. But that being said, what is his objective here? Like, I mean, does he know how important these paintings are, or specifically what they do? Or does only the Sphinx know what they are? And Mara kind of knows they're important, but doesn't know exactly what they do. But he just knows that he wants to hoard them because they are important. I mean, I'm really excited to see what all that is about
Right.
because it felt like that was just barely touched on.
Oh, it was like basically a cool, let's go in here, let's fix it was they needed to go there to fix the ship and to give them the let's hit the Sphinx route, but they were barely there. I mean, they went in there and then escaped immediately when they realized that they were trapped without actually being trapped.
That was a really weird paragraph too, when Senlin was just like, "Well, see, if the door is open, then we don't." What was the reasoning behind that
He
again?
said, because we don't feel trapped. It's like a way of
When we
trapping.
are,
Yeah, but if we tried to leave, they would stop us. But he's trying to make it feel like
it's like Schrodinger's
the horde.
prison.
Yeah. Well said, Freddie Schrodinger's prison. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Um, do you remember why the Hods killed that other Hod?
no idea what that was.
Okay, me
I
neither.
really don't.
Didn't
Yeah,
they
I
just
thought
like
I
put him
don't.
under
I
the
read
like
it twice.
lawn?
They just do it.
Stomp
That
it.
was yeah. Valletta's so cool.
She's so
Valletta is
cool.
she's my personal favorite secondary character. I mean, I really like Edith and I like Aaron and I like Adam, but Valletta is just fucking awesome. She just
Hmm.
shaves her head. She just shaves her head. She's like
Whatever.
no thoughts, no hesitation at all. Just I'm gonna shave my head, get some explosives together. Let's break you guys out. It's
She's a
just
fairy. Yeah, she's like a nymph. She just like lives in the now. Interestingly, she has probably the least amount of character progression. Like everyone else is changing and growing, and I don't mind it. It's not a
I
bad
don't
thing,
know
but she's pretty
though.
much like doing her thing.
I would disagree. I would
Really.
disagree. But okay, well, there's like that part where Edith kind of comes out on the ship and she kind of reprimands everybody, like,
Oh
you've been
yeah.
fucking around this whole time. Like, it's time for us to like really get our shit together here and like start acting like a real crew, or we're gonna drop you off somewhere.
Right.
And then, so Valletta, like that, she hears it. And then she kind of starts feeling Adam getting a little bit more distant
Oh
as
yeah.
well. So there's all of that, and I think that she's doing quite a bit of like introspection,
Okay,
and
you're
it's
right.
it's not as much as Senlin's growth or maybe even like Aaron's,
Mm-hmm.
but there it is there. I mean, I think
Yeah.
the most static character in this whole book has probably been Adam.
I don't know though, because I might have to
I don't
disagree.
know. Let's
Because
let's let's hear it.
he he has, when does he have his realization? I think it's when he's about to die under the ship being attacked by the, when they're in the silk zoo, the silk something.
The Silk
The
Gardens.
Silk Gardens. Yeah, they're in the Silk Gardens. He's being attacked by the spider eater and he's surrounded by flames. And he's like, well, here we go. And oh, and he's also being about to be like buried by the sand. So there's like three ways that he's definitely going to die. And he has this like realization that he's basically been living life as like his sister's keeper, and that like his whole
Yeah,
self
yeah.
identity is tied up in keeping track of her, and she doesn't really need him anymore.
You
So
know what?
he
I'll
kind
go
of
ahead and
sets out
concede
to
that. Yeah,
grow as
I,
well.
yeah, you're right. I don't think anybody was really ecstatic in
No,
here.
you're right.
Brilliant,
We were both wrong.
brilliant, Bancroft.
Yeah. Um,
Fantastic job.
and I think him going to the tower thing is kind of what he needed to become the next phase. He needs not only the mental separation that he's acquired, but I think he needs some physical separation from Valita as well. Maybe he'll
Right.
become king of the Sparking Men.
Maybe he'll become the Hot King.
Oh
I
my
have no idea. I
God.
mean, if these books have taught me anything, much like the Tower has taught Senlin, it's just you just really have no idea what to expect with this. I mean,
No idea. However, I do think I was onto something there with the gold being a very good conductor of electricity. They're called the Sparking Men. So that's why their floor has gold veins in it. Why? I'm not sure, but something to do with electricity.
gold wasn't really mentioned like that much
Well, I mean, it's
in the
like they're like
books.
the streets are made from gold was like the rumor, and then when he gets up there, he sees like marbled veins of it in the floor, and I'm wondering like who makes a roof out of gold? They're not collecting energy for the Sphinx because her energy comes from beneath.
That's why I'm. Is there something above that even?
I
I mean,
don't
that's.
know.
Is there someone that's even bigger than the Sphinx? Is there somebody that's even pulling the Sphinx's strings? Because I mean, at the end of the, not the very end, but towards the end of the first book, it's kind of like, oh, the commissioner. That's the big head honcho here,
Right.
right? And it's like not even
Not
close.
even
Not even.
close.
Speaking of the commissioner, where the hell? What is that? Just not a thing anymore. The error at like
Oh yeah.
the,
Well, he couldn't. They lost him.
they kind of just stopped worrying about him.
I guess so. I mean, they're always trying to do their things with him in the back of their minds.
I
Just
mean,
like
not really the
avoid
last
him.
like third of the book.
Yeah, but the
I don't
last
know.
third, they're with the
They're pretty
Sphinx,
high up.
basically. Yeah, they're pretty high up there. And what did you think about Senlin's plan to get that high up there? Like, we're just
I
gonna be
loved
dead.
that.
I was thinking it
That
was
was
kind
so
of a
cool. Like
bold.
the
What if someone's like loot?
yeah, me too. I mean, I thought it was cool that the chapter ended and they're like, "What are we gonna do?" And he's like, we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
That's the end of the chapter.
It's like, yes. Okay,
What?
describe to me what the picture that your brain painted as to the condition of the stone cloud, their ship, after the Ararat fight. Like, how messed up was it? What did it look like to you? Because they're dropping things off the side of the boat, like left and right.
Yeah, so like my visual in my head, just to help it along, is I'm just picturing like a big giant like canvas balloon that is tethered to what looks like a man o' war, like an actual ship.
Okay, okay.
That's just for my own. I know that that's probably not what it
Oh, that's what
actually
I think
looks
of too.
like. Oh, okay,
Like a
cool. Yeah, I
galleon
mean,
with a
well, because the
balloon.
Ararat is like a floating castle.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, and then with the house that they rob, those that doctor like Taurus is an actual house,
Right. What an up
you know. So
like
they're
sort of idea, you know?
yeah, totally. But I think that the ship that they're on is more of like a ship.
Yeah, yeah. It's got the
Um,
galley and
but
a
it's probably not. And then I think that the condition that it's in is like, yeah, they're falling apart.
okay.
It's just
Because I think they're
like
like
there's
sideways slant. I don't know.
yeah, they're like there's holes in it.
Okay.
I mean, like okay. Speaking of holes in the ship, one of my very favorite parts of this entire book, including the book before it, is when they're getting attacked and Senlin shoots a harpoon onto a train through the back of the ship. Stupid, but
So
amazing.
stupid and amazing.
Stupid. I remember reading it just like this is easily the dumbest thing that's happened in these books, and I love it. And I love it because it ruins the whole ship, and it's so like Senlin to do something so rash
Right. And like
that
reckless.
that totally works. It did work. I couldn't believe,
And then I
and I
love
love how it like went into the train too, like right. It's like he like Bancroft just kind of goes into like what it's like inside the train when that
right.
thing that thing like crashes through it.
And then afterwards, Edith is kind of little short with him and he's like trying to figure it out. And she's like, well, you destroyed my room and it was mine and I really liked it.
But it also had all of her like
Stuff
vials
in it.
of
Oh,
battery
yeah.
juice or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. Man, what a cool. Okay, okay. Here's a question. During that fight, we take a different perspective and we zoom over to
Yeah,
random
that's
guy.
Mario.
What? Oh, the maid? Oh, dude, I
I'm
did not.
sorry I interrupted you.
No,
I thought you had landed on that too. That's
nope.
definitely
Oh,
Mario
well, I was gonna
watching,
ask you
right?
what was that? Was that just like a cool way to tell the story, or was that like kind of come back around? And yes, of course, it's Maria. Wait,
Okay, well, I mean,
is it?
it could not be because she would probably have recognized Senlin, but I mean, in my head, I was like, that's probably Mario with some because it was like a guy from Pelphia
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
watching them.
yeah. He was like a researcher or something that someone from that like one of the family members commissioned or
Yeah, he
something.
was like, well, no, I thought he was one of the family members.
Oh, maybe he is. Okay.
Yeah, and he's just like, darling, come look at this. These pirates are fighting
Yeah,
each
but it was
other,
his
and
maid. She's very uncomfortable with his
yeah, but like
approaches.
maybe Maria had been kind of assigned to be a maid.
That's true.
By the I don't know. I don't know why I like immediately jumped to it being
I don't know why I
Maria. Maybe
didn't.
I mean, I guess it would make sense for it to just be like an interesting way of showing it all. And maybe Bancroft thought it would be a good idea to have two people observing it and talking about it with some kind of dynamic between them instead of just describing literally what's happening on the ship in some kind of like zany
It is a
fight
good show,
sequence.
don't tell.
But like, why not use that further as a way to kind of like hint at Maria's situation?
Right.
But I mean, I guess
Yeah.
she would have like recognized Senlin, but he was really far away too. So I don't know. I think it was Maria personally.
Yeah, that's a good prediction. I'm like shocked that I didn't think of that during it, but I was yeah, my question
Huh.
was just like, do you think that's going to come back around? Because I think it is going to come back around, but I didn't think that it was Maria. I didn't even kind of think about it. And still I don't know because like would she have been pregnant then? Who is this dude that she's like clearly not into? And like who was she with? Was whoever she
Right.
with made her a maid? Like that seems pretty lowly for if you're gonna take if a rich person's gonna take a wife. Like I don't know.
Yeah, that is
I
kind
don't
of. Yeah,
know.
no, I think I mean I'm like 60-40 on it. Like I think probably
Yeah.
you're probably right, but like I don't know, maybe we'll ask Bancroft
Yeah.
when he comes.
Well, we'll know by then, hopefully. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, if we don't, we'll be like, what? Oh, yeah, by the way, everyone, Josiah Bancroft has agreed to be interviewed. If you have any questions for him, please email us at book.reviews.kill. and we will make sure that your question gets answered.
Oh, another part that I really enjoyed was the very beginning of the book when Senlin meets with that guy's mom in that weird room made out of yarn.
Oh yeah.
Man, visually, such a vivid picture of
Yeah,
being
Altura's
suspended by
mom.
a bunch of colored thread, and he's like sinking down into it, and it's just the whole room is made out of thread and suspended like thousands of feet above the air. So cool.
Yeah.
So, and there's like the pegs that have the coats of so he like walks in and it's suspended way above the ground, and there's these pegs that have coats and hats on them, and he's like, that's weird. And then she's like, can you please remove your coat and hat? And then he does. And then he realizes, like, oh, those are people that fell.
Right. Those people never left
That's
and
why
took
they're
their
oh
coat.
my God. Oh no.
And then even then, when he lies to her about taking crumb because he's not actually aware that he's taking crumb at that point, she snips a string and he drops like a foot. And she's about to drop him. And
Oh
then she kind
yeah.
of
And then he
realizes,
tells the truth about
yeah,
something. And and I love how there's like that part. I think it's I can't remember the exact structure of it, but there's like that part where Valletta and Adam and Aaron are kind of in that bar and they piss off that one guy because Valletta took his squirrel or whatever. Man, if
and she throws him out
if
the window.
if people are listening to this and they haven't read the book, they're gonna have no idea what we're
Oh
talking
man, we're all over
about.
the place too.
But like Senlin's talking to this woman, and then this he just hears a scream, and this man dropping past the rubies, and it's just like like the rest of his crew is off, just like completely not doing it. This isn't it, bestie.
Right. What was the phrase when the guy goes into if you go into the bar, he's like, you get black something.
Oh, I
Basically
can't remember
86
that.
if you murder someone or
Yeah, what a nice touch to
he's like
that
no
scene.
killing, no something. And then yeah, and then every time, depending on how good of a mood the crowd is in, they'll repeat the phrase with the bar. Just what a cool. Every place they go has something unique and interesting. Every person adds to this story is unique and interesting.
It feels so lived in.
It feels so
This
lived
whole world
in.
feels really lived in.
What a good way to say that. Yes, this world is very, very lived in. Like we constantly say, or use the phrase, this character does or does not have a life off of the page. All these characters have lives off the page.
How'd you feel about all the spiders being a little
Oh
arachnophobe?
my god, that one's rough. Okay, so this is what I did.
I thought of you. I thought of you.
Oh, thank you. This is what I did in my brain. I changed them a little bit to let's see what was I watching recently that had oh yeah in the Mandalorian show there's like these little spiders. There's a scene where they get stuck on this ice world and there's this spirus and they almost kind of look like machiny kind of spiders with like pointed little like tip I don't know, they were less spidery in my head because I was having problems reading that, just being like at one point Volita is covered in them,
Yeah, I loved
like
that.
completely covered in
Thousands
this.
of tiny
Oh
legs.
my gosh. And I thought there was going to become something. It was going to be a thing that she gets bitten. Because she's like, I'm feeling kind of tingly,
Oh
but then it
yeah.
just goes never is mentioned again.
I mean, we don't need to like keep heaping problems on these poor
Yeah, that's
people.
true.
Like it's like another thing they have to go deal with.
That's true.
She does get bitten.
Yeah, she does get bitten.
Yeah,
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 just once
yeah.
though. And then
Yeah, she like shakes off the it wasn't that
it
bad.
wasn't a bad, yeah. Okay, so there's a quote that the recorder, I can't remember, but I can remember the shopkeeper named her son. I think his name was Altura.
Artuna?
Atuna, might be something
Artura
like that.
Ar
But yeah, so her quote that I really, really like is history is a love letter to tyrants written in the blood of the overrun, the forgotten, the expunged. A love letter to tyrants. Like it's like a kind of the same thing of like, history is written by the victorious.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this takes it one step deeper, and it's like, well, the victorious isn't necessarily writing it, but historians who don't want to be beheaded are. Her advice about history is basically be wary of the lies told by others, and especially the ones we tell ourselves. And then that chapter ends by Senlin thinking and dreaming about this Luke Mara person, who he's going to be and the help he's going to give him, and like how he's going to fix all of their problems, basically doing exactly the thing that the recorder told him to be wary of
Right.
immediately after hearing that.
I know it's funny after everything he's been through, he's still. I mean, it's like he's hesitant, but he's still kind of trusting.
Oh, he's so optimistic. Oh, the guy's trying to educate the Huds. He wants books.
I know he goes. It's like when they go into the Golden Zoo. When they go into the Golden Zoo, he's just like, look at all these Hods reading. I like to see a Hod reading. This is great.
Turns out it's the Luke Mara's efforts at brainwashing them, trying to teach them to like not think for themselves.
Which, while I disagree with that wholeheartedly, makes a lot more sense in
Yeah.
this particular situation. I really liked Luke Marek because he really did come across as pretty friendly and pretty understanding of their situation at first. And even when Edith kind of like Mara's kind of not really lecturing them, but just kind of telling his side of everything. And Edith is like, you have no idea what it's actually like to be embedded with this kind of technology. Because, Luke Mara seems to think that all this tech, you can't trust the people that are making all of these advancements in technology
Right.
and stuff like that. And then Edith says, you don't know what it's like to live like this. And then he kind of removes his blanket and his legs are made out of metal. Um,
Yeah.
He's a really interesting
I
character. And
forgot
I am
about
like,
that.
yeah, I mean, I said I didn't have any criticisms and I still don't really. But one thing I am kind of just kind of bummed out about is that I just really feel like one conversation with that guy just wasn't enough. I wanted
Yeah,
more,
me
but
too.
it'll obviously be in the next book.
Yeah, his arc was very, very quick. And okay, I have a question for you. So he's in a wheelchair, and you said the metal legs thing, which is now making me realize at one point he was a Wigman,
Probably,
and then
yeah.
now he decided to no longer be, which is why he can't walk because he can't get any more juice for his
Right.
legs from the Sphinx. But
Oh,
then
and he doesn't want to. It sounds like he doesn't want to have anything to do with it.
yeah, exactly. But there's a scene when they're running through a very thick forest, and then they come into a clearing, and then surrounded by what turns out to be the spider eaters. And he's there with all the Hods, like looking at him. So when Zen like
Yeah.
shows him the painting, how did he navigate the forest in a
I don't really
wheelchair?
know. Yeah, I don't
He's got
I have no
carried or
idea.
something?
Wish I knew.
Huh.
No idea.
Yeah, because that's
Sorry.
they're like hacking it. They're like,
Yeah, it's really
or
thick.
Edith is basically like
I
arming her
mean,
way through.
maybe he found some battery juice and
Yeah,
just
maybe he
used it like
did.
the one time. I don't know.
Yeah, he's got some stores or
Um,
something. I don't know.
I mean, he's got a lot of Hods.
He does have a
Maybe they
lot of
like carried
Hods.
him in there.
On the point of the Hods, it's funny because you think for the longest time like they're the downtrodden, the dispossessed, and but maybe not. Maybe they're more nefarious than that. And because like they're talking like, when can we stop using this gobbledygook language? They're obviously deceiving Senlin and Edith by using a fake language. I guess what was the purpose of that? Tell me your thoughts.
Mara explained it as a language that the Hods developed so that they could talk about their plans in secret.
Right, but then when they're killing the other one, Felita overhears one of them say like something about talking in this fake language. So I don't think it is a real language.
I mean, I think it is and it isn't. I think that it's real enough in the sense that they can still communicate with each other when they're trying to be deceptive, but they don't necessarily want to.
Hmm.
Mara is able to communicate with his name like Coco or something like that. I can't remember his
Yeah,
name.
whichever the one is that came and got him.
What was your favorite header for a chapter? Like your favorite quote for
Oh
the beginnings of
goodness.
the chapters?
I know last books was the quote about sometimes when you're trying to go a direction, don't go straight in that direction is the way to get there. That was my favorite one of book one.
Gosh, these headings for these chapters are just like if you really just stop and think about it, there's so much more depth here because not only was Bancroft thinking of these really interesting kind of like 1 to 2 line sayings or pieces of advice or whatever or musings, but he had an author and the name of the book
Yeah, like it adds so much
that aren't
depth.
mentioned in anything else. Yeah. The Unlikable Alphabet, a primer for children by Anonymous. It's like, what is the Unlikable Alphabet?
Yeah,
The
there's
Wifely Way by
I
the
love the
Duchess
wifely way
K.A.
as well.
Pell. Yeah, the Wifely Way ones were really
They're
funny.
super funny and like so fucked up.
Right, yeah.
Okay, there's two of them that I can't decide between that are my favorites. So the first one is the Sphinx could never reveal himself without losing his essential mystique. To be the Sphinx is to be unknown. If, however, he were a myth, he would be just as unknowable. We can only hope that one day he will emerge and prove once and for all that he does not exist.
Yeah, I really liked that one a lot.
Loved that. And then the other one that I really liked that was just a really, this one made me stop and just think for a minute. When introductions are made, never be the first in the reception line. First to curtsy, first forgot, or so the saying goes.
Right. That sounds like some bad advice on etiquette, but then it's like the more you think about it.
Yeah, because I'm always like, hey, I'm Chad, and like, because a lot of people, I'm good at
Yeah,
ice
you are.
breaking the ice. And so I'm like, man, I'm always first in the reception line.
I'm sure people remember you, Chad.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
You're so memorable.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. But it did make me think for a while about how, because if you're like being interviewed, you don't want to, you kind of want to be the first or the last one. Yeah, it's just really, really good line. What was your favorite?
The man or woman who is rarely lost rarely discovers anything new.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
That's a
that
good
one's so
one.
good. I mean, that's kind of it's I feel like it's kind of a variation of, the most ignorant people in the world are the ones that have stayed in one spot their entire life.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still just rarely lost. I kind of equated it to like rarely confused, like stepping out of your comfort zone, maybe not just physically, but mentally as well. Like you're trying to learn something new, or it's like you're never going to learn anything new if you're not initially confused about something. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like how I read it.
There's one that I can't find that I really liked also that was about, it says something about a bird and then it says never sing. No one likes the bird that sings over the orchestra.
That's good.
And it was like, oh, that's
Wow,
so
damn.
cool. Like, it's such a
Yeah.
good, it's like if you have a good skill, like, don't always be using people will dislike you for that. There's a time and a place
Yeah.
for it. Use it. Don't be humble. Like, don't be falsely humble, but also at the same time, don't be always about it.
Or maybe don't make it about you when there's like a bunch of people working at something.
Yeah, ooh, that's another good
Yeah.
one.
I like this one. Myth is the story of what we do not understand in ourselves.
Oh,
Oh, Josiah.
dang. Okay, while we're
So good.
while we're getting deep here,
Sure.
so in last episode about the first book, you said that you feel really protective towards Senlin and like kind of his naive optimism and how you
Right.
don't want to see it go away. And I don't think that it's going to fully go away, just get tempered a little bit. But I believe Maria, her existence within this book, or not the real one, but the hallucinogen version of her, was a wall of protection built so he could remain the Senlin that we all know and love throughout this growth process, because she enables him to be like intelligent enough to be realistic and cynical without corrupting his character and personality, kind of putting a distance between who he has to be right now and who we want him to remain as.
Yeah. No, I think
And
you're nailed. Yeah, I think you're totally right about that
cool,
for
thank you.
sure.
Yeah, I was just like, man, what a cool vehicle for keep for protecting
Man,
him,
I bet people are good taking drinks every time you say
Oh, I
vehicle.
know, I've said it to me. What a cool wall. What a wall for
What a cool go-kart
I'm sorry. What a
for
cool go kart. What a rocket ship.
Yeah, I mean, and he ultimately needs to shed that. That's his withdrawal period. That's his spirit quest thing that
Yeah.
he goes on, and I mean, it's like a weird little ego death,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
or some kind of death.
While we're also getting deep, I really liked Senlin's self conversation to himself about the libraries and about how Luke Mara is destroying the books. Like, who would destroy books? And then he's also like, yeah, but who puts traps in a place of knowledge?
Well, and I really like the point that he made that maybe a full library with full really nice shelves is very aesthetically pleasing, but a library that's missing books out of it kind of speaks more about the community around that library, and
Right.
how actually, if you really think about it, a library with missing books is a lot better than a library full of books.
Right. The knowledge is being used, or at least
Right.
hopefully not being not if unless it gets into Luke's hands, then it's getting blacked out.
I want to go over one quote that I really enjoyed, and then we can move on to predictions and then probably wrap it up.
Okay.
So my favorite quote in this whole series so far, and I've been really thinking about it a lot, is it's better to go forward into ruin than backward into rot.
Damn.
That's an amazing, amazing quote. I loved it so much. I mean, obviously, I think it sums up a
I'm writing
lot
it
of
down.
not just Senlin's character, but some of the secondary characters too. I mean, just this, I think that one of the main like themes of this entire series so far, at least, seems to be progression, like kind of failing your way to the top.
Failing your way
You
to the
know, I mean,
top.
like you have to
Yeah.
take risks. You have to take chances. You have to try things you've never tried before. You have to second guess yourself in a way that makes you really uncomfortable. And there's a really good chance that it's not going to be great when you move forward through it. But stasis and moving backwards, regressing, guarantees the rot. That is
Right.
definitely going to happen. You know, and like I mean, I applied that. You can apply that to your own life. It's like, I mean, like this podcast, for example. You and I are putting tons of time into this, lots and lots of labor. I mean, I have been ignoring a lot of other things going on in my life so that I can
Same.
make this a priority moving forward, and it could end up with me and you both suffering, maybe financially or physically
Right. There
or
might be some
mentally,
ruin.
or yeah, there might be some ruin, but better to go forward into that with the chance of success, and maybe the ruin, out of the ruin will come more growth,
Mm-hmm.
than not do it and go back to not doing something that's creatively fulfilling and not, you know what I mean? Like,
Right. Then just sitting there being stale and rotting and not evolving and not moving, not changing, not challenging ourselves.
yeah, I mean, I mean, you could sum it up as just like take a chance,
Yeah.
take the chance. It might be bad. It might really be bad. There's a really good, it's
Right.
probably going to be bad, you know?
Yeah. You're probably going
But
to fail, but that's okay.
the rot is almost guaranteed. You know, and obviously
Definitely.
you can't apply that to like every single situation. You know, I mean, like if you're gonna rob a bank and you're like better to go into
Right.
forward into ruin than backward, it's
Like
like maybe you
crossing a
want to rot.
highway.
Like yeah, right. I mean, like I heard on the Book Reviews Kill podcast that it's
Forward
better to
into
go for.
ruin.
No, that's not. But I love that quote so much. I just thought it was so applicable to this series, to the characters, and also to my own life.
I just wrote it into my phone in my quotes folder, which because it was so good. That is
Fantastic.
so good.
All right, hit me with one good solid prediction. I'll give you one, and then we can. It's like almost 3 in the morning.
It
Let's.
is almost 3 in the morning.
We should probably do this when the sun is up
Yeah,
sometime.
maybe
What do you
we
say?
should. Maybe we should. That would be
I don't have to sleep anymore.
that'd be smart and stuff. I'm going to predict that Adam he's going to move into a position of power amongst the sparking men and save everyone at some point in the next book.
Do you think that the Sparking Men are like a different faction altogether from whatever the Sphinx has going
I
on?
do.
Okay.
I don't I think that she's probably aware of them, but I don't there that's a lot of mystery and I could be very wrong because I'm going off very like none information. But give me a prediction that you have.
This is a little it's a little far out, but it's just fun.
Okay.
Um, I think Senlin is gonna find out that Maria has had a baby that's not his, and it's not going to mess him up as much as he thought it would. And I think that that's going to be a really a big, huge turning point for him, and it's going to set some priorities straight. Obviously, no idea if that's going to happen. It could be his kid, you know.
Yeah. It'll be
And
like the moment
I
that he loses the captaincy. He'll be like, that's not fair. And then totally turn the
yeah,
different corner, you know?
right. I mean, I think that Senlin's gonna find out, and when he does, when he finds out that this kid isn't his, that Maria has completely moved on, even though I'm sure she still loves him, and but she did what she could in her situation. I think he's gonna be really understanding, and he's going to his objective is going to have changed, not just in his love life, but in his overall existence, like what is important to him is going to
Yeah.
shift. Um, I could be super wrong about that, but I could definitely see that happening.
I have a question prediction, and then we can wrap up and go get some wings here. Do you think that this book, the whole series, is going to end with Senlin and crew in a spaceship flying into the unknown?
I have no idea. I mean, the last book is called The Fall of Babel or
Oh,
Babel,
I really hope
and
it's a metaphorical fall.
it's really interesting that Josiah Bancroft was like, call it The Fall of Babel.
Yeah, and what's the picture of the on the cover? It's like a woman falling.
No, the picture on the cover is, I think, Luke Mara.
Oh, and the fall. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're right. It's a bald guy with who
Right.
looks mean as fuck with
With it with a
mechanical
blanket over
legs.
him.
Yeah,
I know.
you're totally right. And he's got the eye symbol of the
Yeah.
on his chest, and that's the symbol from that group of the secret society that was referenced in the
Yeah.
first
I
book, right?
know. It's so weird. Man, I think
Oh my
you and
God.
I have a couple really, really terrific books ahead of us. If the next two books in this series are even close to as good as this one was, this will probably be my favorite series of the year, which is weird because
It came
we
out of
read
nowhere.
Greenbone, and Greenbone was amazing. We read Winter Night. Winter Night was amazing.
Man,
Ugh,
this is such a good year for reading. Dude, the Hot King is the one that has a girl falling
I know.
and
I
has
don't know
got
who that is.
electricity go shooting up from the bottom, and then there's a little bit of it coming down from the top as well.
Maybe it's Valletta.
Oh, maybe so. Or Maria. I
Totally.
love the description of the tower because it's molded so much in my mind. Because at first it was just a big shaft going up, like a tower, and it's not. It's got so much variance, and he mentions like there to be domes and globes and off towers and balconies and all sorts of things. Oh, man, so cool.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us today here on Book Reviews Kill. That has been our recap of Arm of the Sphinx, Book 2 in the Books of Babel Quartet by Josiah Bancroft. And what a wonderful book that was. Oh my
So
God. Like,
incredible.
I mean, it's like 3 in the morning right now, but I kind of want to read just like a couple chapters of the next
I
one
know.
before I fall asleep because I am in this now.
Me too.
So engaged.
Man,
Wow.
I can't say enough. I can't give enough kudos to Josiah Bancroft for writing such an intriguing, magical, mysterious story and having it mean and have it be so meaningful and deep and yet also lighthearted. What a
And
book.
it's so much, it's like even better because not only am I reading this, I'm reading it with my best friend.
Dude.
And we've got this whole community here that's reading it with us. You know, even if you're listening to this a couple years in the future, hi, thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate you listening, and we hope that you enjoy this book as much as we did. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode for The Hod King.
I almost have tears in my eyes from the beauty of it all. Evan, you are the best book brother there could be, and you all are the best book benders, the best listeners that could be. So thank you for joining us.
Everybody, hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and of course, happy reading.
Bye, everybody.